There is a shift so powerful that it changes everything instantly, but almost no one talks about it, not because it's hidden, but because most people are too distracted to see it. Right now, you are living in a version of reality that feels solid, predictable, and unchangeable. But that's the biggest illusion of all. Reality is not fixed. It is fluid, bending and shaping itself based on one thing: who you believe you are. And this is what nobody tells you. You do not experience life based on what you want. You experience life based on what you are. You can chase success, love, freedom all you want, but if your internal identity does not match the frequency of having those things, they will always stay just out of reach. But here's where it gets crazy. This shift does not take years. It does not take months. It happens in an instant, the moment you stop waiting for proof and decide to embody a new reality now. The only reason people stay stuck in the same patterns is because they are addicted to the feeling of who they've always been. They wake up every day and reinforce the same story: who they are, what they can achieve, what's possible for them, and because they believe the same things, they feel the same things. And because they feel the same things, they take the same actions. And because they take the same actions, their reality never changes. But what if you could drop every limitation right now? What if the only thing keeping you from shifting was the refusal to let go of the identity that no longer serves you? Most people never even attempt this because they are waiting for permission, waiting for proof, waiting for some external sign that it's safe to change. But reality does not work like that. It does not respond to hesitation. It responds to certainty. Every person who has ever achieved the impossible did not do it by waiting for proof. They decided first, and then reality adjusted. But this is where most people sabotage themselves. They say they want change, but they are still carrying the energy of the old self, still vibrating at the frequency of lack, fear, doubt. They try to act like the person they want to be, while feeling like the person they've always been. And because of that, nothing shifts. Reality mirrors your most dominant energy, not your words, not your effort, not your hope.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
And this is why some people seem to attract success, opportunities, and breakthroughs effortlessly, while others struggle for years. The ones who shift reality do not wait for external confirmation. They become it first. And then everything around them bends to match. But the real question is, are you willing to let go of the version of you that is keeping you stuck? Because this is where most people hesitate. They feel the truth of what I'm saying, but then the mind kicks in with resistance. What if I fail? What if it doesn't work? What if I'm not ready? And that hesitation alone is the reason they stay trapped. Because the ones who shift do not negotiate with their limitations. They burn the bridge back to their old self. They remove every thought, every habit, every person that pulls them back into a lower frequency. And because of that, they rise faster than anyone else. But here's where it gets terrifying. Once you shift, there is no going back. The old struggles, the old doubts, the old way of experiencing life disappears because they no longer match your frequency. And from the outside, it looks like magic. People will try to explain it away. They will look for logical reasons. They will convince themselves that you got lucky. But deep down, you will know the truth. You will know that reality was never solid, that it was never something outside of your control. It was always responding to you. Every second, every thought, every decision. And once you see that, you will never experience life the same way again. So the only thing left to ask is, are you still waiting for proof? Or are you ready to decide right now? Because if you cannot decide now, you never will. People believe that change takes time, that transformation is a slow, gradual process, that they have to struggle for years before they see results. But that belief itself is what keeps them stuck. Reality does not shift through time, it shifts through alignment. The moment you align completely with a new frequency, your external world starts rearranging itself to match. But most people never experience this because they are constantly contradicting themselves. They say they want abundance, but they live in scarcity. They say they want success, but they hesitate. They say they want love, but they carry the energy of someone afraid of being alone. And because of that, reality has no choice but to reflect their contradictions. But here's where it gets insane. Instant shifts are not only possible, they are the natural way reality works. The only reason you don't experience them is because you are attached to the illusion of delay. You believe change must take time because that is what you have been conditioned to expect. But the moment you stop reinforcing that belief, time collapses. The only thing separating you from the reality you want is the belief that it is separate from you at all. And this is where people get stuck. They are waiting for the right moment, waiting for a sign, waiting for some external confirmation that it's safe to change. But waiting is the exact energy that keeps things out of reach. Reality does not respond to waiting. It responds to certainty. The ones who shift effortlessly are not the ones who work the hardest. They are the ones who decide with absolute clarity and refuse to entertain any other possibility. They do not check for results. They do not question if it's working. They do not wait for proof before they believe. They shift internally first, and then reality follows. But most people do the opposite. They try to change their external world while keeping the same internal state. And because of that, nothing moves. They do not realize that reality is not something they have to push or force, it is something they tune into. The version of you who has everything you desire already exists, but you cannot access that reality while vibrating at the frequency of your old self. And this is why people stay trapped. They want change, but they also want to hold onto their old habits, old emotions, old identity, and so they remain stuck in between, never fully shifting, never fully committing, never fully stepping into the new version of themselves. And then something happens that almost no one talks about, the moment where you let go so completely that reality has no choice but to jump. This is not something gradual. It is not something logical. It happens in an instant, the moment you stop entertaining your old limitations. And when it happens, everything accelerates. People who would have ignored you suddenly notice you. Opportunities that seemed impossible appear out of nowhere. Things that used to feel like a struggle start happening effortlessly. And from the outside, it looks like luck, but it is not luck at all, it is alignment. The ones who shift do not wait for reality to change before they believe. They decide first. They move first. They embody first. And this is why they experience things most people will never even believe are possible. Because they are no longer arguing for their limitations. They are no longer trying to negotiate with their doubts. They have chosen a new reality, stepped into it fully, and left no way back. And when you do this, reality bends so fast that it feels like magic. But it was never magic. It was never luck. It was the way reality was always meant to work. The only question left is, are you still waiting, or have you already decided? Because if you are still waiting, you are choosing to stay exactly where you are. Most people live their entire lives reacting, waiting for circumstances to change before they allow themselves to feel different, waiting for success before they feel worthy, waiting for love before they feel complete, waiting for proof before they believe. And because they live in reaction, They trap themselves in the same cycles over and over again, never realizing that reality is not something that happens to them, it is something that responds to them. The ones who break free do not wait. They do not check if change is happening. They do not hesitate between their old self and their new self. They decide, and they move as if it's already done, because they understand something most people will never see. Reality does not give you what you want, it gives you what you are. And the moment you shift your energy so completely that the old version of you no longer exists, reality has no choice but to catch up. But this is where most people fail. They try to shift while holding on to their old patterns, old emotions, old habits, and because of that, they never fully step into the new frequency. They are stuck in between, half in the old world, half in the new, constantly checking if things are changing, constantly waiting for confirmation. And that waiting alone is the reason nothing moves. The ones who shift effortlessly are not the ones who work the hardest. They are the ones who stop negotiating with their limitations. They do not argue with their doubts. They do not entertain their fears. They do not give energy to any version of reality they do not want to experience. They simply decide who they are and refuse to break character. And because of that, reality bends to match them faster than anyone else. But people who stay stuck do not see this. They think change is something external, something they have to chase, something that requires proof before it becomes real. But the truth is, proof always comes last. Shift first, and then the world adjusts. But most people cannot hold the energy long enough for reality to reflect it. They check too soon. They doubt too quickly. They fall back into their old patterns the moment they don't see instant results. And because of that, they stay in the same cycles, convincing themselves that change is hard, that it takes time, that reality is something outside of their control. But the ones who truly shift never experience life the same way again. They step into a new frequency so completely that the old struggles, the old doubts, the old limitations no longer exist because they are no longer a match for them. And this is where the final shift happens, the moment where you realize you are no longer playing by the same rules as everyone else. You no longer chase. You no longer wait. You no longer ask if you are worthy, because you are. And when you move with that level of certainty, everything speeds up. People notice you before you even speak. Opportunities appear without effort. Life moves in ways that seem impossible to those who are still trapped in hesitation. And from the outside, it looks like luck, but it is not luck at all. It is alignment. It is the natural consequence of becoming so certain in your energy that reality has no choice but to follow. And once you reach this point, you become untouchable. Nothing can shake you. Nothing can pull you back. Nothing can stop you, because there is no longer any part of you that is waiting. You are no longer a person hoping for change. You are the person who makes it happen. And when you reach that state, reality does not just shift, it bends in ways that most people will never believe. But belief was never required. Only certainty. And the only question left is, have you already decided, or are you still waiting? Because if you are still waiting, you are choosing to stay exactly where you are. Most people never reach this level because they are still looking at reality as something outside of them, something they have to fight against, something that requires effort and struggle. But effort is only necessary when you are out of alignment. The ones who move the fastest, the ones who seem to manifest effortlessly, the ones who always seem to be in the right place at the right time, they are not more talented, they are not luckier, they are simply operating from a different frequency. They are not forcing reality to change, they are in sync with it. They have reached a state where everything flows without resistance, not because they worked harder, but because they stopped vibrating at the frequency of resistance. And this is what most people never understand. Life does not reward struggle, it rewards alignment. The reason things feel difficult is because you are trying to hold on to two versions of yourself at the same time. You say you want abundance, but you still think like someone who is struggling. You say you want success, but you still hesitate like someone who is uncertain. You say you want transformation, but you are still waiting for proof before you fully commit. And that hesitation alone is why nothing moves. But people who stay stuck do not see this. They are still attached to the illusion of time, still believing that transformation has to be slow, still convincing themselves that they need more proof, more signs, more validation before they fully commit. And that hesitation alone is the reason they never shift. The ones who move fast, the ones who seem to manifest everything effortlessly, are not the ones who work the hardest. They are the ones who refuse to entertain any version of reality that does not serve them. They do not argue with their limitations. They do not negotiate with their doubts. They do not lower their frequency to match their current circumstances. They hold the energy of their new self with such intensity that the world around them has no choice but to adjust. And this is what people don't understand. Reality is instant when you stop contradicting yourself. The only reason things feel slow is because you are giving energy to both versions of you at the same time. The moment you drop the old completely, time collapses. Things that should have taken years happen in days. People who would have ignored you suddenly notice you. Opportunities that seemed impossible appear out of nowhere. And to the outside world, it looks like magic. But it is not magic. It is the way reality has always worked. And this is where everything changes the moment you realize there is no going back. The old self no longer exists. The old struggles no longer make sense. The old fears no longer have weight. And once you reach this point, life stops being a battle. You no longer chase. You no longer wait. You no longer try to shift because you are the shift. And when you move with that level of certainty, everything accelerates. People, opportunities, money, success, all of it flows effortlessly because you are no longer vibrating at the frequency of effort. You have become the version of you who already has it, and because of that, reality has no choice but to reflect it. And once you see this for yourself, you will never experience life the same way again, because you will know with absolute certainty that reality was never something you had to fight for. It was always something responding to you. And the only thing left to decide is, are you still waiting, or have you already stepped into the new reality? Because if you are still waiting, you are choosing to stay exactly where you are. Most people never reach this level because they are still looking at reality as something outside of them, something they have to fight against, something that requires effort and struggle. But effort is only necessary when you are out of alignment. The ones who move the fastest, the ones who seem to manifest effortlessly, the ones who always seem to be in the right place at the right time, they are not more talented. They are not luckier. They are simply operating from a different frequency. They are not forcing reality to change. They are in sync with it. They have reached a state where everything flows without resistance, not because they worked harder, but because they stopped vibrating at the frequency of resistance. And this is what most people never understand. Life does not reward struggle, it rewards alignment. The reason things feel difficult is because you are trying to hold on to two versions of yourself at the same time. You say you want abundance, but you still think like someone who is struggling. You say you want success, but you still hesitate like someone who is uncertain. You say you want transformation, but you are still waiting for proof before you fully commit. And that hesitation alone is why nothing moves. The ones who break through are not the ones who work the hardest. They are the ones who stop questioning. They do not check if reality is shifting. They do not wait for signs. They do not ask if they are worthy. They decide once, and they never break character. And because of that, reality bends instantly. Things that seem impossible to most people happen to them effortlessly, not because they are special, but because they are no longer contradicting themselves. They have fully stepped into the version of themselves where success, abundance, power, and certainty are normal. And once this shift happens, everything accelerates. People who ignored them suddenly take notice. Opportunities appear without effort. Money flows in ways that seem unreal. And from the outside, it looks like luck, but it was never luck. It was an alignment. It was the result of removing every ounce of hesitation, every trace of doubt, every lingering attachment to the old self. And this is why most people never reach this level. They are still negotiating with their limitations. They are still dipping their toes in the water instead of diving in. They are still waiting for reality to shift before they fully step into the new version of themselves. And because of that, they stay stuck in the same cycles year after year. But then something happens that changes everything. The moment where you stop waiting, the moment where you stop checking, the moment where you stop questioning if it is working and become the version of you who already has it. And when you reach this point, reality does not shift slowly, it jumps. The old struggles disappear, not because life got easier, but because you are no longer vibrating at the frequency of struggle. The old fears lose their power because they no longer match who you are. The old limitations dissolve because they were only ever real to the version of you who no longer exists. And once you experience this, you will never go back. You will never again wait for things to change. You will never again ask if you are worthy. You will never again look at reality the same way, because you will know with absolute certainty that it was never something happening to you. It was always something responding to you. And from this moment forward, nothing can stop you. Nothing can slow you down. Nothing can hold you back, because there is no longer any part of you that is waiting. You are no longer hoping for a shift. You are the shift. And once you step into this fully, reality bends so fast that it feels like magic, but it was never magic. It was always the way reality was meant to work. And the only thing left to decide is, are you still waiting? Or have you already stepped into the new reality? Because if you are still waiting, you are choosing to stay exactly where you are. Most people never reach this point because they are still expecting change to come from the outside. They wake up every day checking if things are different, searching for proof, waiting for a sign that they are on the right path. But that very act of checking keeps them locked in the same reality. The ones who shift the fastest, the ones who seem to make impossible leaps overnight, they are not waiting. They have already decided. They are not looking for evidence. They are the evidence. And this is the difference between those who stay stuck and those who move effortlessly. One is waiting for confirmation. The other has already become the new version of themselves. And once you understand this, everything accelerates. The struggle disappears, not because life suddenly became easier, but because you are no longer vibrating at the frequency of struggle. The waiting stops, not because things magically appeared, but because you have stepped into the version of you that already has them. And this is where most people fail. They try to change their external world while still carrying the energy of their past, still thinking as their old self, still reacting with the emotions of someone who hasn't shifted. And because of that, nothing moves. The ones who break free do something different. They stop negotiating with their doubts. They stop looking for reassurance. They stop asking if they are ready. They move without hesitation because they know that reality does not respond to hesitation, it responds to certainty. And this is why shifts that seem impossible to most people happen so quickly for them. They are not waiting for proof before they believe first, and reality follows. They do not check if things are working, they assume it's already done. They do not lower their energy to match their current circumstances, they raise their energy and force reality to catch up. And when you do this, things move so fast that it feels like a glitch in the system. People who would have ignored you suddenly chase after you. Opportunities that seemed impossible fall into place effortlessly. Money, success, recognition, all of it comes not because you worked harder, but because you stopped contradicting yourself. And this is what most people will never understand. Reality is instant when you remove every ounce of doubt. The only reason things feel slow is because you are still holding onto two versions of yourself at the same time. The moment you drop the old completely, time collapses. And this is where everything changes. The moment you stop looking at reality as something separate from you. The moment you stop waiting for things to shift before you allow yourself to feel different. The moment you stop asking if you are worthy and simply decide that you are. And when you reach this state, there is no going back. The old fears, the old struggles, the old patterns no longer have power over you because they do not match who you are anymore. And from this place, life stops feeling like a battle. Things flow without resistance. Success becomes effortless. People, opportunities, connections, all of it moves toward you because you have become a magnet for exactly what you once chased. And once you experience this, you will never again wait for change. You will never again hesitate. You will never again question if it's working, because you will know it was always working. It was always responding to you. And the only thing that ever delayed it was the part of you that kept looking back. But now, there is nothing left to look back at. There is no old self to return to. There is only the version of you that has already made the shift. And from this moment forward, nothing can stop you, nothing can slow you down, nothing can pull you back, because there is no longer any part of you waiting. You are not hoping for the shift, you are the shift. And now, reality has no choice but to match you.